it to the cloud. Okay, you're on. Thanks, Kira.
Okay. Trying to bring it up. Okay, here we go. Share. Oh no, I don't like it when my computer does this. Okay, here we go. um, okay, so hi everybody. My name is Kira Borum, and I am the volunteer coordinator serving at Detroit PAL. And this is nurturing your stress and anxiety. So we all know that when we are stressed, when we have anxiety, the key word there is to nurture it, because just because we maybe go for a run or we try to do one thing, it's not just going to go in one day. So nurturing, we really have to take that time, set aside maybe an hour in the day to really focus on ourselves and nurture our bodies, nurture our minds to see optimal growth. So content. So I was gonna do a who am I, but Patrice did a great job. So we can just we can skim through that. We're gonna focus on stress and anxiety, as in the definitions, causes, symptoms, and then third we'll go over some solutions, um, finding local resources, and how to be um, good help to our support systems as well when they're going through stress and anxiety and other mental disorders. Okay, so really brief. Who am I? My name is Kira Borum. I serve as at Detroit PAL as the volunteer coordinator, and I'm super passionate about being a resource in my community to teach them about mental health basics, how can they seek help, and how they can be good help for others. I went to a private high school, and we didn't even have like a health education class, so I never learned about mental health in high school. It really didn't come along until the end of my senior year, when I focused on how did my senior project was how do stereotypes affect African American athletes in their performance. So that's where I really learned how critical it is, how your mental state can affect your performance on and off the court and then in your everyday life as well. And so I am here to be a resource to my community, and I want to share this information with everyone so that we all know how to take care of ourselves. And then also, this is my dog Nike. Back when we first got him at the end of the summer, he's doing one of my favorite self-care activities, and that is taking a nap. So the next one. So before we get into it, we're just gonna pause. I know it's 12 o'clock. Some of us have been up since 6, maybe 8, but we've definitely got some good work in. So now we're just gonna take a pause and do a quick breathing exercise, just to regulate our blood pressure and just get our minds ready for this presentation. So the first thing I want you to do is to choose a focus word. So this focus word can be something that makes you smile, something that keeps you motivated. So, for example, my focus word would be fruition. And then we're going to inhale as if you're taking all of the air out of a balloon for 4 seconds. And so, what that will look like is you're holding it like this, and you're holding that count for 4 seconds. And then you're going to exhale, doing that same exercise for 4 seconds. And we're going to repeat that 4 times. So, I'm going to set a timer for about a minute, and we are going to start. So this is a good time to choose your focus word that you want to pick. And we are going to start right now. Okay, so that was our minute. I hope you all feel a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more ready for the day. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. So, what is mental health? Mental health is the state of well being in which the individual realizes his, her, their own abilities, that they can cope with the normal stresses of life, they can work productively and fruitfully, and they are able to make a contribution to his, her, or their community. How does my mental health affect my everyday life? So think of the brain as the root of a flower. And if the root of the flower isn't catered to, well nourished, or grounded, the flower cannot grow. So in this analogy, catered would be reflection. So taking that time when you know that you have, when you're feeling anxious or when you're stressed, what am I doing to relieve this stress? Or what am I doing in this moment? What's causing me to be stressed? What's causing me to have this anxiety? And then you want to cater to it. So, do I need to spend a little less time doing this thing? Or what can I do prior to this activity to avoid this anxious feeling or the stress? Well nourished would be seeking solutions to improving your mental health. So if you feel yourself getting anxious all the time when you're getting ready to do a presentation, then what solutions can you take before that? Maybe you need to practice a little longer to make sure that you really have that content down before you present. Or maybe there are a couple of breathing exercises that you can do beforehand to help your body know that you're okay, I'm okay, and I'm in this moment. And then grounded would be having that consistency and having that faith in the solutions that you've been putting in place to help aid your stress and your anxiety. And then also just believing in yourself that when you are anxious or when you are stressed, that I have all the toolboxes inside of me, or I know where to find those different tools to help myself feel better. Oops. Okay, so let's get into it. So we have anxiety and we have stress. So anxiety is an intense, excessive, and persistent worry about everyday situations. And a couple of causes for anxiety, it varies, um, but the most common causes would be trauma. So this could be something like if you were to get into a really bad car accident, and once you are able to drive again, or once you feel like you're comfortable driving again, you can be anxious sitting in front of that wheel like, I'm super scared about driving again because I don't want to get into another car accident. There's also stress due to an illness. So this is really prevalent, especially within COVID, because we all know some of those starter symptoms. So sometimes when you feel yourself and you're coughing or you're sneezing or you have those stomach aches and you're thinking like your mind is racing, like, okay, I know it isn't this, I know it isn't this. And you start thinking like, okay, is this COVID? You're getting anxious, you're getting worked up. That would be a good example. Stress buildup. So this can be all of those like work projects. Maybe you have school assignments, you have home tasks to take care of, all of those things that are getting built up in your everyday life that you aren't delegating in an effective way. All that stuff can build up and it can make you anxious because then you start thinking that you're on like a time clock and you don't know when you can get those done, but you know that you have to get them done immediately. Personality. So some personalities are prone to being more anxious. So someone who is a little bit more laid back and they go with the flow, they don't tend to get as anxious because it's just like, okay, I'm just gonna roll with the punches. And then additional mental disorders. So this could just look like having depression, or maybe you have bipolar disorder, or even eating disorders. Sometimes those can tack on more anxiety, um, trying to think of the word, more anxiety instances than others. So a couple of symptoms would be sweating, trembling, dizziness, rapid heartbeat, rapid breathing, and trouble sleeping. And of course, there are more symptoms, but these are the most common ones. And then before we jump into stress, I just want to emphasize the connection between anxiety and stress. So, anxiety is a response to stress, and stress is in a response to change in our lives. And then, as far as stress goes, the definition would be stress is our body's response to a demand or threat in our lives. And a couple of causes would be a cumbersome pressure from work, school, home life, which we kind of talked about a little when we were going over anxiety. Lack of control. So going through everyday life, and maybe there's something that someone did to you, or there is an event that's happening that your body isn't okay with, that you're mentally not okay with, but you cannot change it. That can cause stress. Uncertainty. So this is kind of very similar to COVID, when back in March, when we're just like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what we're going to do, not knowing. That caused a lot of stress for a lot of different people. And that really helped open eyes to how prevalent stress is and how important mental health is, so that we can find solutions and apply them to our lives. Having too many responsibilities. And so this is really, really, really prevalent in our work today, because if you're working at a nonprofit, it's really easy to take your work home. So I know, for example, prior to this, I worked in retail when I was in school. And so it's really easy to, go into my retail job, hang clothes, work on the register, and go home, because I don't have to work at the register when I'm at home. But now that I'm working in a nonprofit and we're doing projects having to do with kids, all I need is my computer, really. So it's really hard for me to close my computer when I'm at home and just worry about things that have to do with my at home life rather than my nonprofit life. And then there are other causes for stress as well. Symptoms. So there are tons and tons of symptoms for stress, and they go mentally, physically, and socially. So mentally would be memory loss. Sometimes you can start forgetting things when you have so much stress. You can just start forgetting things, or you don't remember things as accurately as you used to. You can develop depression. Um, you can also have be irritated with people. Sometimes, if you have a lot of stress that goes unaddressed, you can take that out on others, and you won't even know it. It might be the way that you just act with them, or the way that your tone is with them. People definitely will notice it before you do when you're overly stressed. And then your body definitely will always tell you when you need to sit down. So you can develop frequent colds, your diet will change, your sleeping patterns will change, you can develop aches and pains. And that's physically your body telling you that there is something wrong. And it's always, always important to listen to your body, because sometimes your body will just shut down. And those are those instances where people just faint or people just kind of like black out, and they're just like, I'm not sure what happened. Usually it has something to do with some form of unaddressed stress. Um, Next, so here are some solutions that you can do at home and with others to help aid your stress and your anxiety. So the first one would be cognitive behavioral therapy. So this is something that you would seek out when you're looking, when you're working with your therapist or your psychologist. Once you find a really good one that matches with you, and this type of therapy works to reframe your thoughts and your way of thinking. So when you're super stressed, when you're super anxious, it is really easy to be pessimistic. And you start thinking like, okay, nothing's going to work out for me. I'm not going to do well. I'm going to fail. So CBT works on reframing your thoughts, and how, if you think that you won't do well, how can you make sure that you will do well? What are a couple of things that you can do beforehand? And it really works to help build that self-esteem and your confidence in yourself, that you can accomplish your goals. Learn what triggers your anxiety. So reflect on where you are, what you're doing, and and when you feel yourself becoming anxious. So again, I gave the example of like when you're getting ready to do a presentation, and you feel, your hands are getting clammy, you're sweating, you're starting to feel a little dizzy. Maybe it's just speaking in front of others. So that act of public speaking. And then there are tons of classes that you can do to help improve your skills in public speaking. Maybe you're just afraid of just putting yourself out there, talking about something that you're really passionate about. Then you can look into like leadership workshops or self-esteem workshops to help you out with that. Exercising. So exercising isn't for everyone, but there are tons of different forms of exercise that you won't even notice. It won't even feel like you're really working out. So it could just be like walking. So every day, I'm in Corktown at Detroit PAL. So I love to just take 30 minutes out of my day and just walk around the block. And I find something new every day. And it's a really great time to just be present and be outside and also keep moving. There's also swimming, which if you're in Michigan, can't really do right now unless you have, a pool or something inside your house. But swimming is a great way to just be in the summertime. So that's a really great form of exercise. There's yoga, which Patrice talked about earlier, and there are tons of different forms of yoga, especially hot yoga. I've tried it before. It is definitely a different experience. You're just in a room and it's heated, so like you're sweating more, but you're still getting that yoga practice in. You're still working on your breathing. You're still working on your flexibility. So that is a really cool experience. There's kickboxing. So when you're super stressed out, sometimes you have a lot of tension inside of your body. And so what kickboxing would allow you to do is get all of that force out. So you're practicing those punches, those knee kicks, just kicking in general. And you can think about whatever's causing you stress. That can be your goal, like as in like your practice dummy when you're kickboxing. So that is a great way to relieve stress and tension. And then there's also Zumba. So if you love dancing, this is an easy way to just kill some of those calories and just get your workout in. And the important thing about exercising is it makes you focus on what your body is doing rather than what your mind would be doing outside of working out. So when you're exercising, you have that goal. Okay, I'm working out for 30 minutes. I have to focus for 30 minutes. I have to focus on this workout. So it does a really good job at actively distracting you to focus on your body rather than what's causing your mind stress. Next, we have journaling, and there are different journaling prompts. So you could do a gratitude journal. So every day you can think about things that you're grateful for. It could just be something that you ate for breakfast, maybe something that someone said to you, just anything. And that is a really good way to just remind you of just the positive things that happen in your life. There's also reflection prompts. So this is if you're feeling yourself becoming depressed, or if you just feel yourself being too stressed out, too anxious, this is a really good way to just document those things. So again, reflecting, looking at what you were doing, who you were with, where you are at that time. And then as you practice different solutions to help you relieve that stress and anxiety, you can go back and say like, okay, on March 13th, I felt this way. And now it's, 3 months later, looking back at that same day when you didn't feel as well, you're like, okay, this is growth. And I'm really proud of myself for, growing in that way. And there's also poetry too. So that is something that I definitely have gotten into, just writing. And poetry doesn't have to rhyme. It could be whatever you want it to be. And you could just write out maybe your emotions in a story or something that you're going through in a story. There are tons of different writing outlets that that you can explore. Getting involved. So surround yourself with people who choose to help you improve your mental, physical, and social goals. And so with anxiety, there's that social anxiety of talking with people. It's just that generalized anxiety with just things maybe going wrong or having a fear that something can go wrong. So having that support system is super, super important because you want to surround yourself with people who believe in you. You want to surround yourself with people who will hold you accountable. And you want to be able to express yourself 100% with the people in your circle so that they know that you're being transparent and that they can be transparent with you when you both are finding help. And then there's mindfulness techniques. So these techniques are something that you can do completely on your own, and you can also do them in therapy. These techniques help you center yourself when you need to meditate or calm yourself down. So this is something really easy you can do before a job interview, a presentation. Maybe you just been feeling stressed out the entire week. So Sunday is your day for self-care. do mindfulness techniques while you're washing your hair or doing the dishes or maybe even going on that walk. These are definitely portable, accessible, and you can do them at any time. So, speaking of mindfulness activities, we're going to do one today. And so, this is called the five senses exercise. So, we did a little breathing exercise today. So, I want you to remember that pattern of inhaling for 4 seconds and exhaling for 4 seconds. And I'm going to read out these prompts as you breathe. And this exercise is really good to just help you become focused in the moment, be present, just noticing your surroundings and just just being here. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and you can begin your breathing process. So the first thing you're going to do is notice five things that you can see. So maybe you are at work, or maybe you're at home or in the car, just listening. Just take a look around. What are five things that you notice? It can be a bird outside of the window, a pen or pencil that's on your desk. Maybe you really like the color of a car that just drove past you. Next, notice four things that you can feel. So right now I'm wearing a sweater. So, and maybe you're wearing a sweater, a sweatshirt, maybe a really furry, like teddy coat jacket or something. Take a minute and just look at that texture, maybe the texture of your pants, your jeans, or the seat that you're sitting on. Anything that you can feel. Next, notice three things that you can hear. So, again, if you're in the office, maybe you can hear somebody laughing in the lunchroom. Or if you're at home, maybe you hear your dog barking outside. Maybe there are cars driving outside and you can hear their horns, or you can just hear their tires on the pavement. Next, notice two things that you can smell. Maybe you put on perfume and or cologne today and you can smell it in the atmosphere. Or maybe you're eating lunch and you really love the smell of your sandwich or your salad or the fruit. Last, notice one thing you can taste. So maybe you had some juice earlier or a smoothie or piece of gum. Okay, so that is the end of the exercise. Thank you for participating in that with me. And again, this exercise is really good just to help you become present in the moment. And it helps you worry on what's happening right now rather than worrying on past or future anxieties. Okay, so next we have how can I help others? And so on the left side, there's just the infographic. You can just take a look at that, and it just shows you mental health in the workplace. So it says 16 million adults in the United States live with major depression. So think about your family members, think about your friends, think about your coworkers, and most likely they either are experiencing some form of depression or they have experienced some form of depression. And as loved ones, as leaders, we want to make sure that we are being good help to those people in our support systems and in our lives and in our communities. So here are a couple of tips that you can look to make sure that you're being that good help. Practice active listening. So focus on what the person is truly saying. Focus on what they're feeling. Focus on the stories that they're telling you rather than anticipating what you want to say next to them. So I know we always want to make sure that we're just prepared and that we're ready. But when someone is opening up to you, when someone is being true with you, you want to make sure that you're giving them that space and that respect, that you're really listening to what they're going to say. And sometimes you don't necessarily need to say anything afterwards. They just want to tell you, they just want to get it off of their chest, and they wanted to express that with you because they trust you. Next, have empathy. So, unfortunately, we can't experience everything that our loved ones are going through. And sometimes they just have to go through it alone, and we're just there with them. It's definitely a terrible feeling because we want to take that pain away. We want to make sure that they don't feel that way. But we want to make sure that we're putting ourselves in their shoes. And so we should never belittle their emotions because we may not understand it. And we want to try to understand what they're going through as much as possible so that we can find an effective solution for help together. Help within your boundaries. So don't try to be a licensed therapist if you aren't a licensed therapist, especially not to a friend or a family member. So that would just be mixing the pot. And also, when you help within your boundaries, you can make sure that you're not overextending yourself. So we are definitely busy people. We have our nonprofit lives, we have our outside lives, and then on top of that, we will be picking up a job that isn't necessarily our job. We want to make sure that we are leading our loved ones to the professional help that they need. And we also want to make sure that we don't diagnose their problems either, especially if like we had a loved one or a friend come to us and they were telling us about how they've been feeling. And maybe it does sound like that they may be experiencing depression, but we don't want to be the ones to tell them, oh yeah, I think you're depressed. Because if they aren't depressed and they're just having a bad day, that can really rub them the wrong way. Or if they are depressed and they don't hear that from a licensed professional, it may decrease their self-esteem. It may make them feel like, so do I come across depressed to a lot of different people? And so with mental health disorders and with depression, there's still that negative stigma of like not wanting to say anything. So if someone else said that to them, they may feel insecure about themselves and how they see themselves. Allow time and space to build trust in the relationship. So you want to make sure that you aren't pushing someone to share past what they're willing to tell you, just because you don't want to pressure them any more than what they're already feeling pressured to, and you don't want to make them uncomfortable. However, if you think that they were going to hurt themselves or hurt someone else, then you want to seek the proper help for that. Support a healthy lifestyle with them. So this is super easy. You can exercise with them virtually or in person with the proper COVID regulations, or you can journal with them. Maybe you can journal separately and then share together later that day. Attend doctor appointments with your loved one. So this may be a little hard due to COVID if the person isn't in your family, but you can always make time to hang out before the doctor appointment and or afterwards. Especially with doctor appointments can be a scary experience alone, especially if you are uncertain about what's going to happen. So just having someone in your support system will make all the difference for the patient. Okay, so a couple of local sources, and they're also virtual. So we have the crisis text line. So if you text home to 741-741 when you're feeling super anxious, super stressed out, if you're feeling depressed, and you feel like you can't do anything, you don't know who to talk to, you feel like it could lead to a breakdown or some type of emotional reaction, you can text them. And the pro about it is it's through text. They won't call you. You don't have to worry about talking on the phone if you don't like doing that. you can just have a text conversation. And so they're all trained, everyone who works at the crisis text line, and they will help guide you to calm down. They will give you solutions to help you calm down, and they will just make sure that you're okay. And it's definitely just a source if you just needed somebody to talk to immediately. There's someone always there to answer you. There's also the Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network, and they have a helpline that you can call. Again, if you are feeling as if there's about to be a form of a breakdown, you can call them, and they again have that helpline there to help you. And they also have tons of resources and articles to better inform you on your mental health disorders, or if you just had questions, or if you just wanted to learn more, their website has lots of information for you. So there's betterhelp.com, talkspace.com, and there's also therapyforblackgirls.com. And so this will help connect you with a virtual or licensed counselor in your area or virtually. And so the really cool thing about BetterHelp and Talkspace is that a lot of podcasts, if you listen to like one of the ones I listen to, it's called Crime Junkie, and they provide coupons or like coupon codes for BetterHelp and Talkspace. So you can use that if you just need it. If you wanted to get into a professional relationship with a therapist, but you're afraid because of the financial commitment, there are coupons and coupon codes that you can look to. And then also Therapy for Black Girls. This is a really cool, this is a podcast, and it's also a website. They provide you with women of color therapists. So if you just wanted to talk to somebody who looks like you, who would most likely have the same experiences as you, this is a really cool outlet to look into. And then there's also mindfulness apps that you can download that are in the App Store. So something such as Shine, Joy, Calm, Breathe, and Health and Headspace. They offer within the different apps. Like Shine will send you different quotes every day, along with meditations. Joy allows you a space to journal, along with providing meditation. Same thing with Calm, Breathe, and Headspace. This is just a really good practice to incorporate in your everyday life. Maybe at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, to just journal, taking time to figure out, how do you feel right now? Why do you feel this way? And then they have different meditations if you were getting ready to go to sleep and you were having a hard day, or if you just need to focus, if you wanted to work on like body scanning or just doing more of those mindfulness techniques. This is where you can find that. But as a disclaimer, if you feel like you do need to reach out to a therapist, or you think that your mental health disorders do need to be diagnosed by a professional, the mindfulness app shouldn't be used for that. I would definitely suggest reaching out to a professional about what you're experiencing, and then using the mindfulness apps as an addition, not as a substitute. And then that is all that I have. So again, my name is Kira Borum. Please contact me if you have any questions about psychology or sports psychology, college prep or advice, volunteerism, or Metro Detroit restaurants. I am definitely a Detroit foodie. So if you need any recommendations on dinner, bakeries, anything like that, I'm definitely your girl to look to. Um, so yes, thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope you all had a great lunch and a great time with your mindfulness activities.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, Kira. Let's show our videos and give Kira a round of applause or some sort of, we got reactions here because I thought Kira did a great job.
Yes, Kara, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's give her a round of applause or something, you guys. Come on, she did a really, really good
Thank you, Kira.
You're welcome.
So does anybody, we have a few minutes. And actually, I just wanted to do a follow-up a little bit from what Kira said. And if we have any questions, first of all, do we have any questions for Kira? She's just so packed with resources, you guys. Ask her now. No? No questions. Well, and the other thing, I just wanted to check in with you guys a little bit. The gratitude journal that was mentioned in this thing, you know, there are some studies that have been done. And even if you don't make it a journal, even if at the end of your day, you just list 5 things that you are grateful for or that went really well in your day, just kind of jotting them down. From what studies say, if you do this consistently for just even a few weeks, you will have a boost in your immune system. Happiness, you know, there's even
Wow.
happiness, and it's serious. I mean, they did this. This I remember back in the day with Oprah Winfrey. You know, Maya Angelou had to. Oh, you got a restaurant thing. Anyway, Maya Angelou had to inform Oprah to do the same thing. Like, you need to be grateful. Don't let this stuff overwhelm you. Do this on
Mhm.
basis, and it changed her life. So
Yeah.
I really
I
think
think
that
I'm gonna
that's,
do that. That sounds
yeah,
really interesting.
and it's simple, right? It's
Yeah,
really
right,
simple.
right. I already
But
do something similar. I have a prayer book, and so I started it last year in 2020 and before the pandemic happened. But it was very helpful when the once the pandemic took off in March, because I wrote in it more than I thought that I was.
yeah,
But so it was really nice to be able to go back and look at it, and I still have it. I'm going to show it to you guys really quickly. So I just got one of these journals from like Dollar Tree. They're like one of those little composition notebooks. And
yeah,
so I used that, and I've just made it into like a prayer book. But I write in it daily. So I'm interested to do the gratitude one. I think I'll start one for that and do a separate one. So
that
I do
is
encourage everyone to get one of these and have like a journal or prayer
simple.
book, whatever is, your thing.
Yeah, it's really, really simple.
Mm-hmm.
One thing, anybody have any other suggestions or anything else that kind of hit them, or they think that they'll now try to incorporate from what Kira suggested? Anybody want to share? Okay, so
Oh,
oh, Joshua. Thank you, Joshua. Come on.
no problem. I definitely appreciated the 5 senses activity. I never heard of that before, and I know
Yeah.
that like whenever I feel anxious, I definitely start spiraling. And it's usually over things that I'm thinking about that will happen in the future that might not even happen. So it's like really cool that there's an activity out there that's like just stay grounded in the now, and that's like very helpful. So thank you.
Yeah, that was a quickie. I thought that that was a real good. That's one of the reasons why I asked Kira to do this or whatever. I was with her or attended her first workshop she had with teens at Detroit Pal, and that was a new and simple mindfulness exercise that I went through, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to do this, and I want everyone else to come with me and do this too. This is so good. Anyone else hear something that they may change or may incorporate?
I appreciated the whole thing. It was very helpful, Kira. Thank you so much. But one thing that I was just thinking about too is just diet. Like what you put in
Yes.
your mouth, it has a huge connection on how you feel and how your day goes. And I noticed that that's something that I really try to monitor closely, especially with myself. If I feel myself getting like a little depressed or something, or just having like a little, a day where I'm not really as energized, like I have to go back and check my diet for the day. And so that's just one thing that I wanted to add that's super helpful, at least to me.
Very,
Very true. Very true.
yes, very true. And sometimes like that comfort food, putting sugar in your mouth is not really is what's comforting for your body. Like that
Yeah.
It gives you that boost and then that real drop, that the sugar high.
That's right.
And it is so, it does the opposite of what our instant, feel good. It does the opposite of that to our bodies. I'm learning that more the hard way. And it just takes discipline. Like, no, that's not an answer in this moment right now. The answer is to breathe. The answer is, do some mindfulness thing, drink some water. Major thing, you guys. Water is so very important. Um, someone else talking about spring rolls around. I plan on taking the daily walks, something like that. Um, Anyone else have anything to kind of contribute? Because this is about us helping each other too. Kira brings in the expertise, but if we have anything that can help each other, I think, this is, a
I
reasonable
just want to
time.
point out what Rebecca said in the chat. She's not a cold weather person. So when spring rolls around, that's when she would that's when she takes her daily walk. And so she was I can relate to that too. Like the winter kind of makes me not want to work out more. Like the cold weather, you're like, I just want to bundle up. so so one thing I started doing was like yoga, like because you can do yoga in front of the TV with a show playing, or instead of being rolled up under the covers, you can still have some sense of like I'm doing something that's comforting to me, like binge watching my show, but I'm gonna do 30 minutes of yoga to kind of affect my body. That's kind of helped me like through the winter, because I don't really like to work out when it's like extremely cold. So
I think, and that's so good. We're going to have our yoga session next month, which there are like just a few poses you can do in yoga, and that's really good for stretching your body. Really stretching your body when you can't move it the way you want to outside. You can't do all this running or jogging and all this other stuff. And it even may be dangerous, but stretching your body, just really stretching it. And you remember how as kids we used to do jumping jacks and running in place, all this stuff is still relevant.
yeah, I read
So
somewhere like
relevant.
if you did like jumping jacks and running in place for like 15 minutes a day, like that's still like getting your heart pumped up to where
It
it's
is.
like you don't have to do like a stringent 30-45 minute workout. If you did
No,
that for 15 minutes throughout the day,
you
like it
got
would
it.
still be beneficial. Yeah.
Yeah. And then stretch afterwards. So you do your cardio and then you stretch them limbs and them joints or whatever. It is really good. I got one more comment and then we're going to get to Kay. Kay had a very good question for you, Kira. But one more comment is what was also mentioned was cognitive behavior therapy. Again, that comes from therapy, but you each have free telehealth. Please look into it because they have licensed therapists, counselors, they have social workers. If you really feel, that you could use a little help, therapy isn't, diagnosing you with something. Therapy is just like, I need a sounding board. It can be just, I need a sounding board. And from there, they may dig in a little bit and say, well, you might want to consider this or something like that. You may be guided into something else. Depression isn't something, that we mention symptoms, but it really, that's like the top of the iceberg. There are a lot of things that happen because of depression or because of the lack of stress release and anxiety. So really being able to talk to somebody who's unbiased, who is licensed to actually say, or guide you in somewhere. This cognitive behavior therapy is really good. There's outside results. Results from it, and it's amazing actually, you know, did or matched with the good therapist. So it's a matching thing, right? It's really about matching. So Kira, you we had a question about your Kira, that was to you, and your mic is muted.
I think you started breaking out a little bit, but was it the question
Okay.
that Kay just asked, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So can you tell us more how to help teens? Yes. So primarily with teens, and I know we only have a couple of minutes, but ideally because teens are going
It's
through so
okay.
much, and like they're trying to figure out who they are, they are going to experience forms of stress and anxiety and depression. It could be mild and it could be extreme. The most important thing is just to validate their feelings. Just because a lot of the times people make youth feel like they don't have a voice or that their voice isn't loud enough. So when teens are opening up to you, or just when you're in that position to work with teens, you really want to validate their feelings. You want to make sure that they do, and reassure them that they do have that space to be there, that they can open up to you, that their voice matters, that their feelings matter. And then you just want to help them the best way that you can. And so we're all teenagers. We know that usually when people told us what to do, chances are we wouldn't want to do that, do it after that. So we just want to be very careful with our words, so that it doesn't sound directive, but more of guidance, and also presenting them with multiple forms of direction and guidance so that they can take their pick. And then together you work out how to make that, you know, that their pick work for them. And I think that might be the best answer that I have.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Very, very good answer. Yeah. Deb, or Kay, I'm sorry. Kay, are you good? So anybody have anything else? We have 4 minutes.
Yeah, that was very good. Thank you, Kira. I like that response. And I know you did some work with teens as one of the MLK projects. And I hope that the feedback that they gave you was beneficial and it was worth sharing with us. I think some of your response came from that information. I think that's very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And you're welcome.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kara. Very good job. Thank you so much. And I will see you guys next month. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, Kira.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. You're welcome.
Bye.